Jimmy Lai sentenced to 20 years in prison for national security offenses. Chief Executive John Lee says Lai deserves a 20-year prison term. And Thailand votes to rewrite its constitution. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. Next Digital founder Jimmy Lai was sentenced to 20 years behind bars after being convicted of conspiracy to collude with foreign forces. 8 other convicted senior executives of the now-shuttered Apple Daily and activists received prison terms of up to 10 years. We begin our coverage tonight with the court's sentencing judgment. A landmark case marking the first trial under Hong Kong's national security law involving collusion with foreign forces, which took more than 2 years to proceed in courts. Former media mogul Jimmy Lai's 20-year prison sentence handed down at the West Kowloon Court also marks the longest prison term since the law came into effect. Lai was convicted on 2 counts of conspiracy to collude with foreign forces and 1 count of conspiracy to publish seditious material. The court considered 10 factors when determining the sentencing, including the context such as society's atmosphere, the modus operandi, meaning the ways, acts, wording, media, or platform adopted, the frequency and duration of the offense, whether it was premeditated, and whether violence was involved, as well as the targets and impacts. Determining that the offenses were of a grave nature, the judges said the penalty should not be below 10 years. The court said the conspiracies were not only well-planned but were premeditated and involved the use of online platforms reaching both local and overseas audience. It said the call for sanctions or blockade and engaging in hostile activities, both overt and subtle, did contribute to foreign governments imposing those against the Hong Kong government and the PRC. The court adopted a starting point of 15 years imprisonment, and noting that Lai is considered a mastermind and driving force, the provisional sentence is raised to 18 years. For the conspiracy to publish seditious material, the court considered multiple articles involved, both in print and online, the number of participants and duration of offenses, resulting in a 23-month sentence. Having considered the mitigation, the court accepted that the combination of Lai's old age, health condition, and solitary confinement would cause his prison life to be more burdensome than that of other inmates. The court deducted the sentence by 1 year and 1 month. Apart from announcing penalties for Lai, the remaining 8 defendants, including 6 former senior executives of the now-shuttered Apple Daily and 2 activists, were also given sentencing ranging from 6 years and 3 months to 10 years. Meanwhile, 3 connected Apple Daily companies were each fined $3,004,500. The court reviewed that the 3 companies have declared bankruptcy. However, after considering the totality of evidence, the court found that none of the accomplice witnesses fell within the category of a super informant, or a supergrass, referring to the insider criminal witness who turns against their associates and gives extensive or high-value evidence to police who may receive reduced prison time. There were reactions on Jimmy Lai's sentence both locally and from abroad. Daniel Rao reports.
Hundreds gathered outside the court this morning, waiting for news on the sentencing of the 78-year-old former media mogul. Lai's wife Teresa and Joseph Zen, retired cardinal of the Catholic Church, left the court without speaking to the press. In a statement issued by Lai's children, Sebastian Lai described the ruling as devastating for their family, while Claire Lai called it a heartbreakingly cruel sentence. A number of representatives from different consulates arrived before 9 a.m., including those from the European Union, the United States and the UK.
What we're looking for is a positive resolution in due course.
UK Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper issued a statement calling for an end to Lai's ordeal. The European Union also reiterated its call for the release of the 78-year-old in consideration of his advanced age and health condition. Meanwhile, the National Security Department of the Force welcomed the court's imposition of a hefty sentence on Lai.
Obviously, he has done nothing good for Hong Kong that could serve as a basis for his mitigations. I think that the sentences awarded to the defendants, I think it's appropriate at this level from my point of view. But I have to discuss that with my colleagues in the Department of Justice to say whether we needed to appeal for the sentences.
When asked if the 78-year-old would die in custody, Lee remarked that only God knows, noting he had received appropriate medical treatment and his solitary confinement was based on his own application to the Correctional Services Department. Chief Executive John Lee said the severe sentence on Lai brought great relief to all, describing what Lai did as heinous and evil beyond measure. The Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office of the State Council welcomed the hefty sentence, warning that anyone who attempts to challenge the law will be heavily punished. Beijing's liaison office in Hong Kong stated the 20-year sentence fully demonstrates judicial fairness. Ronnie Tong, a member of the Executive Council, believes the sentencing was reasonable, considering that Lai was an influential figure.
Not only that he's a tycoon, but he also is the controller of a relatively popular newspaper and a media empire. He also has a personal relationship with some high-ranking officials and politicians in the United States. If he used that power to persuade other political power in the world to impose sanctions on China and Hong Kong, it would cause tremendous harm to the national and local interests.
General TV News.
Jimmy Lai began his career in the garment factory before expanding into media, where his outlet's reporting style often sparked controversy. Here's a look at the former media mogul's life before jail.
係一個好唔同嘅一個社會嘅一個氣氛啦，嗰陣時係好。
Born in Guangzhou, Lai came to Hong Kong at the age of 12 and worked as a child laborer in a textile factory. By the age of 27, he had established his own factory.
細個嘅時候，因為自己覺得
When I was young, I felt I had a chance to succeed and make money, Lai recalled. He made his first fortune through stock trading and in the 1980s founded the Giordano clothing chain.
服務本身係我哋所賣嘅貨嘅其中一部分嚟嘅。
Lai said at the time, service itself is part of what we sell. During the Tiananmen Square incident in 1989, Giordano sold T-shirts printed with political slogans. Later, Lai gradually exited the clothing business and shifted to media, founding Nix Magazine and Apple Daily.
我第一次睇啊嘛，好似個仔出世咁，你望下啊嘛。
The first time I came to see it, it felt like seeing a child being born, Lai reflected on his early media ventures. Apple Daily used color printing and aggressive pricing, with content that sometimes leaned towards sensationalism and explicit material. This strategy allowed it to successfully capture market share, influence the media landscape, and later expand into Taiwan. However, its reporting methods repeatedly drew criticism. Apple Daily reportedly paid $5,000 to a subject of a tragic family incident in order to secure an interview, raising questions about the practice of paying to get headlines. Fueling the paparazzi culture, the paper was said to repeatedly photograph celebrities in private moments, including backstage changing areas.
自己好抱歉嘅，係咪應該係一個時間去改變呢？
Lai later admitted that he regretted the practice. Despite controversies, Apple Daily also exposed political misconduct, such as allegations against Gary Chang of abuse of power and the then Financial Secretary Anthony Leung's financial scandal in early 2003, revealing that he had bought an expensive car shortly before imposing a new car tax. Lai has long been politically active, participating in marches and rallies, and Apple Daily often encouraged readers to join street demonstrations.
梗係唔係啦？
Regarding claims that he funded the Democratic Party, Lai initially denied it. However, documents later revealed that over the years, Lai had donated at least $50 million to pan-democratic figures and parties such as the Democratic Party and Civic Party. He later admitted to political donations, but denied intending to disrupt Hong Kong. He was also accused of spending millions on the so-called Occupy Central movement and meeting with Taiwanese politicians to discuss the political move. During the 2019 anti-extradition protests, Apple Daily distributed yellow umbrellas to citizens, and Lai reportedly helped lead marches. That same year, he visited the United States and met with then U.S. Vice President Mike Pence and Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. The Commissioner's Office of Beijing's Foreign Ministry in Hong Kong slammed Lai without naming him, accusing him of willingly acting as a tool of foreign forces to oppose China and disrupt Hong Kong, labeling him as a national traitor. Voters in Thailand's general election overwhelmingly voted for a referendum calling for a new constitution to replace a 2017 charter. The referendum is the outcome of a decades-long struggle between the pro-military royalist establishment and popular democratic political movements. The referendum drew 60% support and 32% against, the Election Commission reported after 94% of the polling stations were counted. These backing changes say the current military-backed charter entrenches unelected power, weakening democratic checks and civil liberties. The majority yes vote gives Parliament a public mandate to begin drafting a new national charter which would replace the current 2017 constitution, which was drafted by a military-appointed committee following a 2014 coup. However, Thailand's history shows that constitutional movements often trigger backlash from entrenched elites, raising the risk of renewed political instability. Thailand's Boomja Thai Party has emerged as the largest party in the country's House of Representatives, according to preliminary results released by the country's election commission. With 94% of the vote counted so far, the Boomja Thai Party captured 195 seats, while the People's Party and the Phua Thai Party ranked second and third respectively, with 118 and 74 seats. Tracy Furness has more.
The Boomja Thai Party of Prime Minister Anutin Charnvirakul took a commanding lead in Thailand's general election Sunday.
At this moment, our people have given us more than what we expected this morning. So we owe our voters a fortune, and we will only repay them by working at our utmost to bring all the good things to them and to our country.
On the Election Commission's website just before midnight, it showed the Conservative Boomja Thai Party had attained 195 seats in the 500-member House of Representatives. The numbers were still not clear as to whether the Boomja Thai Party would have to seek partners in a coalition government. The Progressive People's Party, which had been tipped to win the most seats, was holding down second place with around 118 seats. The party is the successor of the Move Forward Party, which won the most seats in the House in 2023. It was blocked from forming a government by Conservative lawmakers and then forced to dissolve. The party acknowledged this time round they wouldn't come first and said it would respect the results.
If we see the current result, we are so quite sure that we cannot win this election. We respect to the parliamentary system that we have to allow the winner to form the government first.
Pheu Thai, the Populist Party representing political machine of former Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra, followed behind with 78 seats. The 500-member House comprises 400 lawmakers directly elected based on constituencies, while 100 others are chosen from party list nominees who gain seats according to each party's proportional share of the vote on a separate ballot indicating party preference. The battle for support from 53 million registered voters came against the backdrop of slow economic growth and heightened nationalist sentiment. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
And still ahead, Japan's Liberal Democrat scores a massive win in the lower house elections. Keir Starmer's chief of staff resigns over his Mandelson recommendation. And Fire Services officials bust illegal filling station. Welcome back. Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi's governing party secured a two-thirds supermajority in parliamentary elections. The landslide victory allows her to pursue a significant conservative shift in Japan's security, immigration, and other policies. Daniel Rao tells us more.
NHK, citing results of vote counts, said Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi's Liberal Democratic Party, or LDP, alone secured 316 seats by early Monday. That comfortably beats a 261-seat absolute majority in the 465-member lower house, the more powerful of Japan's two-chamber parliament. This marks a record since the party's foundation in 1955 and surpasses the previous record of 300 seats won in 1986 by late Japanese Prime Minister Yasuhiro Nakasone. With 36 seats won by its new ally, Japan Innovation Party, Takaichi's ruling coalition has won 352 seats. In a televised interview following her victory, Takaichi said she'll emphasize policies meant to make Japan strong and prosperous. The Japanese Prime Minister said she would try to gain support from the opposition while firmly pushing forward with her policy goals, adding she would be flexible. Despite the lack of a majority in the upper house, the huge jump from the pre-election share in the superior lower house will likely allow Takaichi to make progress on a right-wing agenda as tensions grow with China and she tries to nurture ties with the United States. The first major task for Takaichi when the lower house reconvenes in mid-February is to work on a budget bill delayed by the election to fund economic measures that address rising costs and sluggish wages. Takaichi has pledged to revise security and defense policies by December to bolster Japan's offensive military capabilities, lifting a ban on weapons exports and moving further away from the country's post-war pacifist principles. US President Donald Trump congratulated Takaichi after her victory. He said Takaichi is a highly respected and very popular leader, and her bold and wise decision to call for an election paid off big time. The Chinese Foreign Ministry said Beijing's policy towards Japan will not be changed by one particular election. The Foreign Ministry said China urges Japan's Prime Minister to withdraw her remarks on Taiwan. Takaichi sparked a diplomatic row with China in November after she said an attack by Beijing on Taiwan could amount to a survival-threatening situation for Japan and potentially trigger a military response. Daniel TV News.
Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi has not ruled out the possibility of visiting Yasukuni Shrine, which enshrines Class A war criminals from World War II. In Beijing, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs urged Japan to follow the path of peaceful development and to demonstrate through concrete actions the basic sincerity needed to uphold the political foundation of China-Japan relations. On the local election program on Sunday, when asked whether she would visit Yasukuni Shrine in the future, Takaichi replied that efforts are being made to create the right environment, first to gain the understanding of allied countries and also that of neighboring countries. Some mainland Chinese scholars analyze that the LDP's overwhelming victory under Takaichi reflects a more serious rightward shift in Japan's politics and public opinion. They suggest that the Takaichi administration may further bind itself to the United States in diplomacy, court allies, and strengthen efforts to counter China. Moderate socialist Antonio José Seguro secured a landslide victory in the 5-year term as Portugal's president in a runoff vote. He defeated his right-wing anti-establishment rival, André Ventura. Seguro, who received backing from prominent conservatives after the first round amid concerns over what many see as Ventura's populist, authoritarian tendencies, becomes the first socialist head of state in 20 years. He succeeds Marcelo Rebelo de Sousa, a conservative, after 2 terms in office. Portugal's presidency is a largely ceremonial role, but holds some key powers, including the ability to dissolve parliament and block legislation under certain circumstances. Seguro has cast himself as a candidate of a modern and moderate left who can actively mediate to avert political crises and defend democratic values. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer's Chief of Staff Morgan McSweeney resigned Sunday, saying he took responsibility for advising Starmer to name Peter Mandelson as ambassador to the U.S. despite his known links to Jeffrey Epstein. This as Andrew Mountbatten Windsor may have knowingly shared confidential information with Epstein when the former prince was UK trade envoy in 2001 to 2011. Newly released documents revealed. Tracy Furness has more.
Morgan McSweeney's dramatic resignation as Starmer's Chief of Staff came after MPs called for someone to take responsibility for the escalating Mandelson scandal. It was a bitter blow for the British Prime Minister, who had said all week that he had full confidence in McSweeney. McSweeney admitted he was wrong to advise Starmer to appoint Mandelson as US ambassador in 2025, despite his ties to Jeffrey Epstein, and he took full responsibility. Starmer fired Mandelson from his job in September. But he now faces a political storm after newly released documents suggested Mandelson sent sensitive information to Epstein during the 2008 financial crisis. Starmer's government has promised to release its own emails and other documentation related to Mandelson's appointment, which it says will show that Mandelson misled officials. Mandelson, a former cabinet minister, ambassador and elder statesman of the governing Labour Party, has not been arrested or charged. This, as a recently released batch of Epstein file documents reveals that Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, World Trade Envoy, passed on reports to Epstein of visits to Singapore, Shenzhen, Hong Kong and Vietnam, and confidential information of investment opportunities. Under official guidance, trade envoys have a duty and confidentiality over sensitive commercial or political information about their official visits. Andrew has consistently denied any wrongdoing. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
The Fire Services Department's dedicated team on anti-illicit fueling activities busted a suspected illegal fueling station in Meifu. Some 8,000 liters of diesel have been seized. One man is to be prosecuted. TVB News followed the operation. The team deployed a drone around noon for aerial surveillance and identified a suspected mobile illegal fueling station on Tat Yeung Road. Officers then raided the site and searched a medium goods vehicle. Authorities say illicit filling stations attract patrons by selling fuel at half the price set by licensed stations. Some also conceal fuel tanks filled with fuel inside 7-seater vehicles or vans, conduct transactions along roadsides and in secluded urban areas. Since the launch of a 24-hour hotline in October, the Fire Services Department has received 145 tip-offs related to illicit fueling activities. The illegal filling station outside the Cheungsha wholesale fish market that caught fire last week was among the authorities' inspection spots. And that's the news. Thank you for watching.